one, Dave.
Those of you who've had flowers, would you please bring them and put them with the others?
Please join me in lighting the chalice. We like this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, the celebration of the life we share together.
We come in a variety of colors, shapes, and sizes. Some of us grow in bunches. Some of us grow alone. Some of us are cupped inward. Some of us spread ourselves out wide. Some of us are old and dried and tougher than we appear. Some of us are still in bud. Some of us grow low to the ground, and some of us stretch towards the sun. Some of us feel like weeds, sometimes. Some of us carry seeds, sometimes. Some of us are prickly, sometimes. Some of us smell. I'm just reading it as it's written. And all of us are beautiful. What a bouquet of people we are here. I would love to applaud you if it was in my power to do so. So thank you for being here. This is who we are and what we're about. I would pray that you would find this particular service is significant and valuable here in this season and as we celebrate the Flower Communion later on today. There's a number of announcements that I wish to bring to your attention. One, please note Ron McDonald, who will be with us June 6th in performance. That's a Saturday night. Footnote that. Also, our upcoming services, Sunday, May 21st, is our annual new member service where we will formally recognize new members. And that gives me a good time to pause for just a moment because I have a lot of gold cards up here. So I'm going to ask if when I call your name, would you please come forward and take your gold badge, if you would. Diane, Valerie, are you here? Yes. Evie, are you here? There we go. These are the people that have finished our latest. These names are the people that have finished our latest Path to Belonging, and we have 10 names up here. Chris Meyer. Chris, are you here today? There you are. Funny story about Chris. Chris has neighbors, the Greens. The Greens live across the street. Neither one of them knew they were attending here until they suddenly discovered it. And so now, the Greens also have our cards. Are they here today?
No, they're not documented.
Yeah, I didn't think they were. Yes.
He's another neighbor.
Excellent. Good deal. I know. Keep inviting folks. But we'll come back to that. Sally Wogslin, are you here today?
No.
No. Amy, you are here today. Jan and James Weston, if you would please.
He goes by Jim.
He goes by Jim?
Yeah, no James.
Fine. Buddy Kirby. Buddy, are you here? All right. Let's see. I think that's all that I can give away today. Thank you for being here and for making this bouquet even bigger and more beautiful as we continue to grow. Thank you for your time. Let's see, other announcements that I've sort of diverted from. The small group dinners, if you want to be a part of that, registration is in the vestibule, and we're asking, if you would please, to register by May 21 so we can kind of figure out who's going to go where and what sizes are appropriate. And also this month, our sharing from our abundance will go to Bluffton Self-Help Food Pantry. So all of those needs continue to move along. So that's where we are, and I want to take a moment now. Oh, yes, Betsy, if you would.
Which mic?
Doesn't matter.
The one closest to you.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Good morning. From the care committee, Phyllis Baxter broke her hip a couple weeks ago, and she wants to thank everyone for the cards, the visits, the phone calls. Everything has just really, really helped her. She's feeling stronger, and she left Encompass yesterday to return home, so you can reach her at her home address. Oh, look at those little kids. So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I knew where I was going there for a moment. Oh, guests and visitors. Those of you who are first or second time visitors or guests today, if you would mind standing and just give us your name and tell us where you're from, that would be sweet. Any first time guests or visitors? Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep growing. That's all that matters right now. Dick, I think I'm going to turn it over to you now. Oh, yes.
My fault. I didn't whisper in your ear.
That's okay. I probably would have forgotten it.
Hey, Kat, could you join me for a moment? There is no sitting down. Good morning.
Good morning.
And happy Mother's Day. Good morning. And happy Mother's Day. Mothers are beyond fabulous. It's so great to have moms. I'm Dave Kelly, and I have the pleasure this morning to introduce to you Kat Duncan, our new social media consultant. But before I give any details on Kat, I just want to let you know briefly how we got here and why we are here. About a year ago, last spring 2022, the Barnards led, Lynette and Clay led us in a strategic planning process called design thinking. Many of you, if not all of you, participated in this process, and out of it we came up with 3 goals, 3 major priorities, one of which was engagement and growth. So through that process, we created a team specifically focused on, we call it the Growth Initiative Team, to promote growth within our congregation. And on that team are the Barnards and Susan Crow and Ann Titus Harrison, Gordon Stamler, and I. And we were diligently executing a marketing plan. And part of that marketing plan was to use digital and social media in general to get the word out of this wonderful place, but also to target more specifically younger people, younger families with kids. And part of a knock-on effect of that would be to rejuvenate our religious ed program that Ann Titus Harrison does such a good job with. The social media part, we needed help, or better help. And in comes Kat Duncan. And we talked to Kat back in March. Was a pretty quick process, very bright person, and we hired her as our consultant. So from that, I'm going to start to read stuff so I don't get it wrong. Kat has a wide depth of experience in working with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, paid social campaigns, community outreach, and the like. Perhaps many of you have met Kat in the past, or her kids, who they've been coming to service for a couple of months. And we're very fortunate to have her. However, for her to help us, we need to help her. And on many of the seats, there's this half piece of paper with a bunch of information on it. And I'm just going to paraphrase some of this, but I just wanted to highlight some of the things. Again, this is to help Kat help us. She'll be posting heavily on social media, and she's requesting, and we need your help on this, sending photos and videos of activities at UUCO. All pictures and videos are welcome. Please send them to, and there's a phone number and an email on this piece of paper, so I'm not going to run through numbers and letters, but it's all there. If you can't read it, come ask me and I'll read it for you. But if it's easier not to use text or email, Kat really wants it to be a priority to make it easy for us to share this information. So she's making herself available. If there are other ways that you would like to share photos and videos, please approach her and ask her of different ways to transfer it so we actually get this digital information to her so she can post, because the social media aspect needs updating all the time. We're going to have to build our digital library, so to speak, and this is the person who's going to lead us down that path. So I'm happy to introduce Kat Duncan.
I'm just happy to be here. I'm thankful for everyone who's said such kind things about my kids. I love them and I love being here. It's just been such a welcoming community, and just very, very excited about everything that we're going to do. And yes, the number one thing for me, the number one priority for me is that it's easy for you. If you have a great picture that you want to share, we don't even have to give credit if you're like, this is a great picture, but I don't really want people to know that I took it. That's that's fine, I'll keep it a secret. But I want it to be easy for you. So whatever way possible, even through a text message, through email, whatever it is, that's going to be easiest for you. I want to make that happen. So thank you very much. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thanks. I got in at the last moment also, so thank you. Excuse me. I have some great news. It's still possible for you to join that famous group from our group here called the Bee Gees. And we are still recruiting some folks, and we specifically need to put a team together to do the grass cutting, lawn mowing, grass cutting. And so I'm looking for folks that can help us out with that. You know, there's two ways to influence your budget. One is to grow with your revenue. The other is to cut down on your expenses. And that's what we're really wanting to do here, that we want to not have to expend our budget on that particular activity. So please see me, and we can talk about how you can join this great team of the Bee Gees. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Dick Hood, one of the people that gets up every once in a while and you have to listen to for a short while. How many of you go to Publix to shop? Oh, shopping is a pleasure, that's what they say anyway. I disagree with that, by the way. No shopping for me is a pleasure. But you would be familiar, if you've been to go to Publix, with the term BOGO, buy one, get one. That's what you're getting today from me. Rather than one long sermon, I'm going to do two homilies. That for the Roman Catholic, the ex-Roman Catholics in our congregation, you know about that term. Homily is basically a short sermon. But I want to talk a little bit more extensively than usual about the flower communion. So we're going to have that as a homily, and I'm also going to preach, but it's going to be a little shorter. Just to bring you up to date about the old phrase, great minds think alike, I would like to share with you, I have my book right here, and on the very last page is the benediction that I have chosen for today, or had chosen. Just one line I'm going to read from it is, some of us smell. Charlie and I work completely independently of one another. We do not collude in any way. But the interesting thing is we managed to come up with the same benediction. So you're going to get another benediction from me, but it's going to be off the head. It's not going to be one that I have found out at all. Also, this is a moment that's a little bit bittersweet for my wife Molly and I. This is the last Sunday that I'm going to be here in person for a while. We make our annual pilgrimage to Maine coming this week, where we'll be for 4, 5, 6 months. We don't quite know yet. But I will assure you that I will still be here, but I'll be up there when the screen is down. No, you don't need to. That's not necessary. Just a word of where I'm going to be. However, fortunately, Charlie did not find this same call to worship from an anonymous author, and it's in honor of Mother's Day. Mother's Day to me is more than Leave It to Beaver, or more than Ozzie and Harriet used to portray, because motherhood itself has changed. Mother's Day is more than the old traditional view of stay-at-home mothers nurturing their fold, although certainly those mothers live very fondly in our memory. In fact, Mother's Day isn't just for mothers. It celebrates nurturers of all time and all places and all types. Have you been nurtured? If so, you have been blessed. Give thanks today and all days for all those who have the job and the privilege of nurturing. All those who provide the example of love and caring that we share each and every day, and that we can take with us for the rest of our lives, and hopefully that we can pass on to our own children and grandchildren and friends and relatives. Happy Nurturers Day. Give honor and thanks to all those who practice this ancient and exceptional art. We have today a wonderful array. Thank you all who brought flowers. You have filled the table. And in its honor, we're going to sing hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Rise as please as you are willing and able.
Thank you. Diane Valerie, you have come into the building. Where are you? I have reports that you're here. Would you please come forward? I have your gold badge. We have people watching you.
Will you join me now in reading today's affirmation? It's number 505 in the back of your hymnal. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become holy ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being, common to us all, and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion toward ourselves and toward all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth.
And now sharing from our abundance. As you know, for years now, we have been bringing food donations for the Sandalwood Food Bank, placing those in a container in the middle of the sanctuary in the back. And our donations have apparently been so generous that this container has given up the ghost. And now we have a new location. There's a table under the portraits of Reverend Holland and wife, just to this side of the building. And we can use the top or either underneath to leave those donations. And now, in our support for you youth, we will pass the baskets to keep the wheels turning. Thank you.
We can't get this right since Phyllis is gone. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you. Our monthly theme this month is creativity. And I'm going to propose this morning that we desperately need a new definition of creativity. I grew up in the era, my younger days, mainly high school and college, where creativity was all important. Every third word from some of my friends was, we need creative solutions, creative problems, creative. It was just a word that became very quickly overused. And I thought that that had gone away as I matured, 20 or 30 years, and got myself elected to the school board in my district, a large suburban school district outside of Rochester, New York. And I was on for 10 years, so I got to know pretty much all the administrators. And at each school board meeting, one of the administrators, and we had many because we were a large district, would come to the board and give a little presentation about what their duties were and what they saw as their role and so forth and so forth. We always kind of suspected that it was a plea around budget time that we would increase their department's budget, but we never really, we never made that accusation public. But again, the term creativity came into play, and in fact, we had one person who was the superintendent in charge of instruction, who came to the board, and she was a very brilliant woman. She had a PhD, and she said, creative teachers need creative solutions for creative problems and creative students. And I remember looking at my peer next to me, because we were in front of an audience, looking at him and going, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. We need a new definition. We also need a new definition for how we use the term today. We have in this congregation a number of creative people. And the ones that first come to mind are those who produce something. John produces music. While it's not an object, it's something that we can experience. If you look around this sanctuary, you will find examples of artwork from this congregation. And it is very professionally done, and certainly those people are creative in every sense of the word. And we use that label very easily to talk about people that produce things. Musicians, published authors, and we have at least one and maybe more in this congregation, visual artists, all the usual art type things that produce something. And we call those people creative, and we call the art of producing things creativity. I would like to propose that there are many, many more people in this congregation who are creative and who deserve that title and don't necessarily produce something that you can either hear or put your hands on. I believe all those other people that I mentioned earlier deserve the title artistic. Certainly we have a number of accomplished artistic people here in this very room at this very time, and you know who you are. But I'd like to leave the word the creative and make it bigger, to identify a far more expansive phenomenon. And as I got to this point in preparing my text, I thought, well, now exactly what's my definition going to be now that I've knocked down the previous definitions and knocked down some PhD instructional superintendent that overused the word. And I came up with this idea, and it's certainly not final, but for me, creativity is the ability to, in all of us, to use our talents, and the decision to use our talents to better ourselves and to better those around us, and hopefully even to better the world. There's an assumption there, and the assumption is that each and every one of us has within us talents that could be put to good use. Some people do. Some people don't. Some people take the opportunity of living only to think about themselves and the little world around them, only to close their mind to the gifts of others, only to think that only they are really important and only they should be the focus of attention. I believe that creativity comes when you unleash those talents that each and every one of you have in one way or another, that you unleash them for the common good. And again, I look in this congregation, and I got to tell you, as somebody who's been around a number of churches, and I am older than I'd like to be, I am constantly amazed at the amount of talent in this congregation. I am constantly amazed at the number of people who I could call creative because they have taken their talents and brought them forward to serve not just themselves, but in this case, this very congregation. I hope you know who you are. You might be the people who mow the lawn or work in the kitchen or prepare a budget or work in the office. Unbelievable different aspects of congregational living. But they're all important and they all demand creativity. And I can give you an A+, you as a congregation as a whole, for what you do to keep this congregation alive and spiritual and growing. You are a very creative group. When David asked me a month ago for a sermon title, I really never know what I'm going to preach. Dave sends me a little email and says, okay, Dick, I'm putting the bulletin together and I'd like a sermon title and a blurb. And I write him back, and sometimes I manage to preach on that, and sometimes I stretch it a little bit. And in this case, I thought maybe initially that, okay, here's another example of me stretching it. But as I reflected on it, it's really not the case. The title that I gave David a month ago was Wings Set Us Free. From, for those, probably most of you are familiar with the hymn Spirit of Life. It talks about roots holding us close, which I preached about at Easter time. And now wings set us free. And I think what the real meaning that Carolyn McDade had in mind when she wrote those words in what has become really our Unitarian Universalist anthem is the idea that we don't simply be within ourselves, that we as a congregation and we as individuals commit ourselves to spread our wings, to use our talents, and in doing so, we set ourselves free and we set others free as well. So think about the talents that you have. Be thankful for all the talents that are already shared in our group. And if there's a way you can sprout your wings perhaps even a little bit longer, please feel free to do so. You will help not only those around you, but in essence, really, you'll help yourself as well. John?
So those of you that don't know me, I am the David who keeps bugging Dick, and keeps bugging Charlie, and keeps bugging Pat, and keeps bugging Neil, saying, title blurb, title blurb. Speaking of talents, Joanne, many of you folks know Joanne, who's runs music on Malfris. Many months ago, she brought a woman named Kristen Maxwell here. It was a great performance. And we had planned on doing a song about mothers that Kristen Maxwell wrote, but Joanne was away on a trip to Grenada or Granada, I'm not sure which way you pronounce it, and she fell and she actually broke her wrist. And she didn't realize she broke it, and almost 2 weeks later she got to the hospital, and so now Tuesday she's going to be operated on. So keep Joanne in your thoughts and your prayers, and that heals properly, whatever. But speaking of talent and creativity, a member of our 7 Principles group, Diana Krafsick, came up to me and said, I have a mother's song. I could do it a cappella for you. So this is an original written by Diana. And Diana, come on up over in this microphone over here. And let's hear it for Diana Krafsick.
You might want to wait until after to consider that. But my girlfriend once, she was getting ready to celebrate her 50th birthday, and I said, "What would you like for your birthday?" And she goes, "I think I'd like you to write me a song." Now, ask me if I've ever written a song before in my entire life. And I hadn't, but I said, "Okay, I'll think about it." And at the time, we both had little girls that we were taking to plays and concerts and having lots of fun play dates. So we had that mother-daughter connection. So this is what I came up with. Time now to dream, little daughter, calm all your fears. Mother will hold you and dry all your tears. I'll keep you safe, darling, I'll keep you warm. Mother's affection will keep you from harm. When you are older, love, when you have grown, when you are holding a child of your own, then you will know, even though I may be gone, Mother's affection will live on and on. Mother's affection will live on and on. Mother's affection will live on and on.
Cheryl, would you like to come forward and maybe have a seat? You can sit, it's going to be a while. I'll move when it's your turn. Somebody, I don't remember who, asked me last week about this celebration, Flower Communion. What is it? Why do we do it? Why do we have it? Does it have any history? Did it just emerge out of nowhere? And this is my attempt to try and answer those questions, to assure you that this ceremony has significance that goes back actually a fair amount of time in history. Communion, as Protestants know it, usually takes place once a month, usually. Very familiar words in grape juice, those of you who come from a more traditional Christian background. Charlie, I'm sure, officiated on Communion Sunday for years and years and years. There's no direct relationship in the Jewish tradition other than to remember that the celebration of Passover, it could well be considered a form of communion that Christians took and made into what is now traditionally celebrated, usually monthly. There are familiar words, familiar elements: bread, wine in the Catholic Church, grape juice in the Methodist Church. I was served for 35 years in a small Universalist church, very much part-time. When I got there, the group was a very small group, but they were very responsive. But about in January, I got a phone call from the lady who was really, would be considered my supervisor, saying, "Now you remember about communion?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I remember about it. I remember as a kid, I helped my grandmother fill the little communion cups. That was one of my jobs as a child. And if I spilled it, I was in trouble." She goes, no, that's what I'm not talking about. We have, she said, communion in this church once a year. On Good Friday, ironically, which is the one day of the year that Christians do not have communion. But in the Universalist Church in Albion, New York, that was the Sunday that was the day they had it, on Good Friday. And I asked pretty soon, saying, why am I doing this? This is not something that is really part of our beliefs anymore. We don't really believe that bread and wine and body of Christ, and even that kind of imagery is foreign to us. And she said to me very specifically, we do it because the old people want it. And for years, on Good Friday, I came and they got the old silver communion set up. They set the tables in the parish hall in the shape of a cross, and I conducted communion using old words and old imagery. And when the last the last old person died, the communion service died with it. However, that lesson about the idea of going back and finding some comfort really remains with us. And I hope for those of you who are used to a traditional service, communion service from long ago, maybe your childhood, might find some comfort in our more up-to-date idea of communion. While we don't use familiar words or bread or wine, the attraction of everyone in the congregation participating together in some sort of celebration remains strong. The idea is that even though we've all graduated, there's still a little bit of need of ritual in all of us, or at least in most of us. The symbolism of the flower, the symbolism of touching a blossom. This morning we sang For the Beauty of the Earth. And now hopefully we can experience that beauty in this wonderful display that we have here today. We are all different. We have different shapes, different thoughts. But this is a time when we like to think that we are all alike, that we bring our flowers and make a common bouquet, and then we leave together and remember our individuality. We're also part of history. Today, or this year, is the 100th anniversary of the first Unitarian, it was Unitarian then only, the 100th anniversary of the Unitarian celebration of a flower communion. And it took place not in the United States, but interestingly enough in a Unitarian church in Prague, Czechoslovakia. There in 1923, Norbert Šapek, and I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, but I tried to Google it and I came up with more than one interpretation, but we're going to say Šapek. He founded a ceremony in which people brought flowers and then took flowers home. And he had it he called it a flower ceremony to avoid confusion with the traditional Christian message of communion. And they had it every year. And Maja Šapek, his wife, was touring the United States in 1940. And she happened upon somehow the Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right in Harvard Square. And she got to know the minister and was instrumental in celebrating the first flower communion in a Unitarian church in North America in 1940. But the news is not all good. Maja Šapek was not able to return to Prague to see her husband because of the outbreak of World War II. After the war, Maja received the tragic news about her husband, because he preached about the worth of every single individual. He was a threat to the Nazis who occupied Czechoslovakia for many, many years. The Nazis arrested Šápek, sent him to Dachau, the infamous concentration camp, and he died in that concentration camp. Interestingly enough, somehow, some words of his while he was at Dachau remain, and I'd like to share them with you. He said, "I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul, my life and your life are worth living." Clearly, his life was worth living, a life of courage, hope, compassion, wisdom, and goodness. And his vision is with us in many ways. The blessing that Šápek used was actually captured and remains. And I'm going to ask Charlie to share Šápek's words that he used during flower communion.
Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whenever we can do great things or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. Amen.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you. We join with our Unitarian Universalists across the world who use the flower communion each year as a way of remembering the past, but also celebrate our living, active community as it is here in the Low Country. We celebrate our common worldwide bonds with like-minded people, but we celebrate each other and the meaning that we bring to this larger group. The essential message of flower communion is we are not alone. And I'm going to ask Cheryl, who's going to give us some instruction on how we're going to handle this, and she's really the one who fosters this ceremony. Cheryl.
That's a beautiful display on that table, and to me it reflects the beauty of what I see when I stand up here. You've all contributed to the table, and you will all take something home. It's our way of sharing with each other parts of ourselves. And so, in order to make this orderly, we will come together down one aisle, take a flower, and then return to your seat. And I think this aisle to the left of Betsy and to the right of the pretty lady with the long white hair will be the best aisle. We talked about doing it all the way on the side, but I think that's a little crowded. So John will play some soft music while we do that, and I invite you all to come to the table and take a flower. Yes?
This is my right. Yes. This is my right.
Oh, well, I have the right and left backwards, but as long as you know the aisle I'm talking about. Thank you.
We'd start over here, please. This way. May the blessing of the flowers be upon you. May their beauty beckon to you each morning. May their loveliness lure you each day. May their tenderness caress you each night. May their delicate petals make you gentle. May their stems make you sturdy, and their reaching make you care. May your flower be blessed. Amen. Cheryl?
So one little piece of housekeeping is that we will not be having our talk back today, so we can enjoy each other's company. And the flowers that have made their way into this place, and the joy and the smiles. Love hearing the conversation, just murmuring. Can hear wings fly. Diana, thank you for your wings today. Bless you. Dick and Molly, Molly and Dick. It's hard to know which one to say first. You will be missed physically, spiritually. You're with us, and we're going to continue to watch for you on the big screen. Dick, your message was fabulous. Thank you for encouraging us to find our own wings, as well as to set our hearts free to be more complete in the person and the people that we are. Dick, if you would please.
This church has a tradition that the benediction each Sunday is different. The church that I served for 35 years did not have that tradition. They used the same benediction every single Sunday. And so I thought I would, since Charlie, I thought I would share these closing words with you. And now may truth make us free, hope never die, and love live eternally in all our hearts. Amen, and good day.
Now, to extinguish the chalice, all please rise. While we extinguish this flame, we still carry in our hearts the light of truth, the warmth of unity, and fire of repentance, till we are together again.
You did a great job. Here she goes.
Here we go.